26.
We have all seen the snowy owls. We have seen lots of snowy owls. I have read about snowy owls. All right, that's enough about the snowy owls. About the image. The halo around the bird itself is definitely distracting. And I'm not sure if this is done in post-processing that you receive this halo.
Sure was.
Okay. Yeah.
Naughty, naughty.
And then the other thing is we're dead center with the bird. He's not going anywhere. If I could have pulled him back to the right a little bit, that he had something to fly into, would have added a little bit more, but nice stop action.
Post and summer.
Looks like this is a beautiful spot, but just because it's a beautiful spot doesn't make it easy to take a strong image. In this particular case, the bottom right corner is, can you stop shining your light in my eye? This part forms a triangle that is bright white, different textured, etc., and garners a lot of attention when that's probably the least interesting thing about it. If you had stepped to the side a little bit and composed just a little bit differently to include maybe a little bit more of the grasses and this shape, I think it would be a little stronger.
Afternoon nap.
I like the effect on this, actually. This would probably be kind of a blah picture if it wasn't for this kind of neat little painterly effect to it. I like the composition. Everything kind of draws you into the old man sitting here. It's a very kind of moody picture.
The touch of color on him draws attention.
Yep. Yep, and you even got some green hues in the grass and to kind of give you that swirly stuff going on. So, good image.
All country.
Overall, I'm okay with this image, with her being centered. What I'm really not particularly care for is that her shirt is actually a little blown out, overexposed. We could have knocked that down a little bit. And the lines in the back are a little distracting. You're looking up at that bright light in the corner there, in the upper right corner. And we could have done a little more in some saturation to the hay a little bit more to tie the whole image together. But overall, good portrait.
Another eerie event.
It always seems like it should be easy to get these shots because you know where the tower is and you know where the fireworks are, but it's always a little bit harder than what it seems. For this image, I'd like the tower to be just a little bit sharper than what it is, and for me the fireworks are a little overexposed, and I would not have this super bright one right over here on the corner because that pulls you out of the image. But I love the lines and the colors and the radiating effect of that. That's beautiful.
A Ground Zero NYC 8/17/2013. 19?
Well, I don't think the impact is kind of lost, just with the chemtrail and, the building and everything. The colors seem a bit off, though. You got these kind of weird blocky things going on here, too. Like, when you're post-processing, you really got to watch this stuff. It's called JPEG artifacts. It can happen when you over-process something. You really got to watch out for this stuff, especially in your blues and your backgrounds and stuff like that. You'll really see it. But I like the composition of it because you got some strong angles, and I mean, you touch up the color and fix the background. This would be pretty cool.
Beautiful Promethea. $28.
Well composed, dead on for the subject. There's no blown out details. But I am curious, is it actually natural to have that white spot right on its wing? Is that a natural occurrence?
Yep.
Okay, okay. But overall, a good, well-exposed image. Nice blurred background.
Biltmore Stonecutter. $21.
This is kind of a cool little piece of artwork that somebody photographed. The angle makes you stop and look and think about it. I would have either placed it a little bit lower in the frame or a little bit higher in the frame, and my preference would have been a little lower. Get rid of a little bit of this bottom that doesn't really add anything, and have the top leading into it.
Brunch. $23.
It's really good capture, especially since he's got something in his mouth, probably doing some nest building. Exposure is a little bit off, a little hot in the whites, a little underexposed in the blacks. I don't know if the effect that you were going for, with the background it's a little bit grainy. I understand you probably had to shoot a little bit higher ISO to get this, to get this guy. But also too, as Ellen pointed out, your tail is leading out of the frame. Just back out just a little bit, but you got the catch light in the eye too, so that's a big plus.
Butterfly House. $21.
I like the detail that you're showing in the flowers and then into the body of the butterfly. But we're losing a little bit of that detail as you go out of his wings, especially at the top right. It's getting a little bit blurry. But overall, a good composed image.
Caravan at Sunset. Did you show? Is the green light on? Is the green light on? Just hit it on double once.
Get hit once.
Try hitting it again. And I'll try. No.
What are you trying to do, a 10?
Yeah.
You need to do the plus sign.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. 27?
this is definitely strong composition. Love how the shadow projects out and along this curve. Everything leads you right into these guys. Excellent. I guess the only reason why I didn't give it a 10 is because like some of the texture, like in like the darker areas, seems like I don't know if it's the sand or the grain or whatever, but it feels like it almost could have maybe used more contrast to kind of bring out, because it feels contrasty to me already, and it feels like maybe just a touch more might kind of dampen some of that artifacting that kind of happens when like when this happens.
Carolina fog. $22.
This image has a nice feel to it. The focus is actually on the tree blossoms to your left. Nice rule of thirds in the composition for that. We're a little bit heavy in the shadows, but overall, nice image. Very moody.
Castle stalker. $21.
What a neat place to see the castle on the little island and the little boat going by. You really want to try and focus our attention on that. And the exposure right up here is okay, but it's so bright back here that initially my eye keeps skipping the subject and going back up here to the background. So I think a much tighter crop in on this would really make a stronger image in this case. And if we could loosen the shadows a little bit, that would be even better. But that may be part of the fog and part of the mood, and that wouldn't be deadly, but, in an ideal.
Church of the Covenant wide view. $24.
I like it. I like the fisheye effect. Kind of gives you a feeling that you're, a feeling of space that only a fisheye can do. Good exposure.
Sorry.
Ooh,
I accidentally hit a button.
do it by memory. Good exposure. I didn't see any blown out areas. Yeah,
Nice symmetry.
nice symmetry. A lot of good lines, a lot of good detail. I didn't see anything too dark either. Keep going. Yep, there we go.
Sorry.
Yep, I was right.
Colorful. $23.
Very nice image. I like the oddity of that blue stone in the center. All in all, the whole entire image is tack sharp. The details in each one of those stones you can pick out. Very well done.
Country Christmas. $22.
Nice idea taking the picture at night and then making it monochrome. Radiating light leads us around a little bit and helps us get into the image. The trouble is, I literally find myself trying to block this out in order to look up here and look at the rest of the image. For me, that is too bright and is difficult on the image. The other thing is the texture that, I'm assuming that this is a texture that's been added, not over HDR processed sky kind of thing. It could either be HDR artifacts brought out, or it could be texture added. In either case, I'm not crazy about it. I'd rather a smoother background.
Crocodile Rockin' with Sir Elton. $21.
First thing I see, tiger crop. I mean, this is the shot right here. Him screaming. I mean, this would be a pretty strong image. I shoot a lot of this stuff, so it's like there's always guys in the background. He kind of looks kind of spooky to me. I don't really like him in it. A nice tight crop, especially with the symbol in the background, like this would be really cool right here. Boom. His hand on the, hand on the keyboard. Nice tight, gives you that raw feeling.
Crowd Reflections. $21.
The only thing that I'm seeing as far as a reflection is in his helmet, and it really doesn't denote a crowd in his helmet. It almost looks like it's a path or a sidewalk trail that's leading up to whatever event it is. So that leads you to the background looking for something that would be resemblance of a crowd. And I'm just not seeing it in this image. Do you see it?
No, I don't see it either. I'm just saying it was blocked up in there, so that if that was the subject, it needed to be more prominent. I mean, if the story here was crowd reflections, then we needed to see more emphasis on the helmet and more detail in it, different exposure on it.
Down Under. $23.
Nice exposure, nice sharpness to this graphic. You can feel how rough that is. Fun image.
Entrance. $20.
Definitely strong composition, nice leading lines, everything kind of leading to the point. Looks a little flat to me. Maybe a little bit more contrast, maybe a little more sharpness to something to kind of bring out, give it a little more impact. Colors seem a little bit odd to me too, but might have been like a good black and white, a little more contrasty black and white. Might try that.
Flurries. $25.
They're definitely friends or sisters or very close in this image, and you get that mood and feel in this image. And it might be just the share of the cold, but a very well exposed. There's nice detail in their teeth. There's detail in her scarves. There's detail in the coat. There's details in the snow, like the blurred background of the house. Very well composed image.
Flying High. $19.
Another graphic image. It's nice singling out the blue kite and the red kite. It feels like we're artifacted a lot in the sky, as Marty has pointed out, and that kind of takes away from it. There is dust on the sensor as well that could be cleaned up, but for me, the graininess of that sky doesn't help, and nor does some of the haloing, or I don't know if you're blocking the sun there perhaps with it.
Beneath the strings.
Yeah, the strings would be, would anchor it a lot more and help. And the blue of the sky feels oversaturated as well.
That's what was missing. What the hell's
Yeah,
missing it?
you're right, the strings.
Strings with anchored.
Fog rolling in at sunset. $29.
This is excellent. Love the colors in this. Excellent mood. The only thing I see is that like you got some kind of blurred stuff going on in here. But I kind of think that might have been intentional, like it's almost like a painting effect.
I thought it says fog.
It's fog.
Oh, okay, the fog, right. That would make sense. No, I love the colors, love the composition. Everything. It's good, excellent.
Frozen bubble.
On the technical aspect, the difficulty factor in trying to capture these frozen bubbles, I understand that wholeheartedly. But the shadow for your bubble, you could have elongated that to include that in your image. The nice crystallization to what appears to be snow in that image as well. The color seems a little bit off in that. But overall, good image.
They're just taking the levels up.
And too bad you didn't get the ice crystals on the bubble too. That's what we've been all after.
Frozen sand. $22.
Nice composition on this, but the image overall is contrasty so that we've lost detail on the whites and we have blocked up shadows, and that pulls away from it a bit.
Glow of autumn. 28.
Very cool. Love the effect. Love that. And actually, to me, it's not even the colors that actually drew my eye on this. It's the symmetry again. You've got a nice, strong line coming in. Nice, just, you know, the geometry of this works really well. And I definitely think this was the right effect for this.
Great egret. $22.
Very nice capture. You've got details in his eyes, you've got details in his beak, but we lose some of the detail in his feathers. And I think that's due to the fact that it's a little bit bright. If we could have knocked that down a little bit, you might have gained some of the contrast in his feathers to add a little more punch to this image.
Green monster. $19.
It's fun to come in tight and see things that we can't usually see with our eyes with macro. But in this case, if you're going to come in this tight, I want to see detail throughout the critter's entire body. If I'm only going to see detail in his face, I want a different angle, and I don't want him cut off. Back off from him a little bit and allow the whole critter in there, or come in really tight and really focus our attention on the front part of him.
Hey, watch this takeoff. $18.
Cool action shot, but gotta crop different. Gotta come in here, gotta get the top of the wing too. Need a little bit extra up here and a little bit tighter in here. This distracts, doesn't add anything. Watch your backgrounds too.
And the exposure and the angle
Yep, exposure, head angle, he's leading you down instead of
and out. He's looking out.
catch line.
Ice dune. 22?
I see the ice dunes, I see the clouds, I see a level horizon line. But we have split this image dead center. So we're not focusing on the sky nor the ice dunes. We're dead center on this image, so it's kind of hard to say which way you want to go with this, because if you crop the bottom and focus in on the sky, there's really nothing leading you into that sky. If you drop down and cut the sky out, there's not enough in the foreground for a focus.
But you got down low with a real wide angle lens.
That's possible.
Janitor's broom closet.
Okay.
Oh, I see the broom in the middle.
23?
Abstract images are fun to do, and this was well seen. And yeah, you can see the room after you really look. The trouble is that the brightest point is over here pulling us out, and there are lines that are pulling us over here past the broom. The sharpest point is here, so I kind of land here. Nonetheless, the pink is strong enough that it brings me around. And so all in all, I find it fairly pleasing.
Mast.
I mean, the detail in this is excellent. Maybe from a different angle come at it though, because it looks like you got like the shiniest, from sometimes like if you just kind of move over a little bit, you can reduce the glare. Like when you're taking pictures like this. I think this is another one of those photos that there's probably 3 or 4 pictures in here. You might take like there might be one right in here where you got like a leading line coming into your buckle right here. There might be another one, down in here. This might be another one of those ones where you can just section off and really focus on the details.
Warning at the blue hole.
Unlike the other image that we saw of the ice dunes, this one has a foreground element, and it's the rocks, the rock structure, and the blowhole. But we are definitely over-processed. This looks like it was done in duplex mode in Photoshop that is just overly saturated. There's no orange in the sky, but yet and still we have this deep orange in the pools and the tide pools. Then you have this band of green, then we go into a purple, and then to a purple sky. We're just a little over-processed in this one.
Who's on Mars?
I mean, in this image, the colors completely distract you from the subject matter.
Yeah, there's your desaturation.
My little witch. 22.
The maker took this at a good angle coming down so that you could see her entire face, and so that the hat provided a frame around, and the top of it kind of is a leading line back into her. On the right side, I think it's framed well. I'm not a fan of cropping the hand in the middle like that. It at least is a deliberate crop, and there's space here so it can work. I would rather have seen, though, a little bit more room on this side, balancing this side. Love the expression, though, and the exposure is great. And the depth of field as well.
New Orleans on the river. 27?
The first thing that caught my eye was obviously the stuff in the foreground. But the more I kind of look at it, I actually kind of like it because it kind of does anchor it. It does anchor it in a little bit. The exposure is excellent. Everything is tack sharp. You know, I love the effect on the water. A nice calm day. Sky looks good. I mean, processing wise, this is top notch.
On guard.
Here we have details in the eyes, we have details in the feathers this time. But this time on this image, we lost the bird. We're focused on his eyes and his head, but what about the rest of his body? And as Ellen has pointed out, we've lost some details in the highlights. And the image looks a little grainy in the background as well, where we could have possibly used a noise reduction program to get rid of that background noise in that image.
Archery.
The photo itself is nicely done. The composition of the child, the look on her, the lighting on her is nicely done, the exposure, etc. This orange framing and then the white framing around that, not so much. You got to be careful when you're presenting it that you're not taking away from your photography. Because here, I go straight to this orange Halloween border. Not so much a fan of that. But the photo itself, nicely done.
Parochial school nightmare.
Bunch of Catholics in this.
25.
I went to Catholic schools my entire life, man.
25.
This is awesome, actually. Yeah, I went to Catholic schools my entire life, so it does give me a little bit of chills. I have two great aunts that are nuns. You know, both of them swear. No, awesome. To nitpick, little spot right there. This actually kind of screamed vertical to me. You know, like this would have been a really powerful vertical, just because it's so graphic in nature to begin with. So
Or just crops them off.
it just crops them off the side, tightens up a little bit.
That line that's on
Yeah,
the
you
right.
take out the
That one.
take out the spot and a little more aggressive crop, and this is awesome. It'll terrify children in cages.
Harry 200 tall ship.
I like the way the mask leads you into that image. We utilize leading lines to the image, but in doing so, there's nothing at the end other than the flag to focus on. So we're just going to stop in that image right at the flag and nothing else to bring you back around in this image.